Hi there. My name is Jenny Chatman. I'm a professor at the Haas School of Business, and I study leadership and culture. And so, over these past few weeks of unprecedented events, I've been thinking a lot about how leaders can work to help their employees stay focused and feel a sense of continuity, even in these very disruptive times. So I've put together a couple of steps, 7 in particular, that I thought might be useful. Now, we're in the early stages of this crisis. I'm here in California, and Governor Newsom, only a week ago, ordered a shelter in place. And it's only been 2 weeks since our university closed its doors and began full-time virtual teaching. So these tips are really meant to focus on this early stage. Maybe they'll be helpful over the longer run, but maybe they'll just be relevant for this period. I'm a social psychologist, and so I think about employees in terms of how they are responding to this crisis, both their motivational orientation and how people process information when there's so much uncertainty and risk involved. And these 7 tips are really meant to address those social psychological issues. So I hope you find them helpful. Let me tell you what the 7 are, and then we'll jump in and talk a little bit about each one. The first one is to balance empathy and realism. The second is about communicating regularly, two-way, and as personally as possible. The third is creating a short time horizon for people to focus on. The fourth is to offer clarity and direction, but to invite ingenuity and flexibility. The fifth is to temper your productivity expectations. Sixth, share and curate best practices. And seventh, create regular social interaction for your people. So let's dive in. The first one is balance empathy and realism. What does that mean? Well, when people are faced with this kind of uncertainty and a very stressful situation where bad things can happen, bad things have already happened, they want to know that you understand as the leader how difficult things are for them. They also are looking to you for some reassurance and for some optimism and hope. People are resilient. They want to be hopeful. So all those things are true, but at the same time, you also have to make sure that you don't mislead people about the reality of the situation. So what might you say? I've been talking to a lot of leaders that I know in this past week to see how they're grappling with the challenge. And 3 themes seem to be coming up here. The first one is that leaders are making sure that they're saying to people, I see you. I understand that you're scared. I understand that this is incredibly disruptive and unprecedented. It would be very difficult for a person not to be worried under these circumstances. I understand that. That's the first piece, just offering your empathy and perspective sharing with them. Second, reassuring people, we're working to keep you safe. We're surfacing problems and dealing with the immediate situation as effectively as we can. Are our employees safe? Are our offices and our production areas safe? What do we need to do to make that happen? And then secondarily, do people have what they need to shelter in place at home? And then third, I think this is where the power of an organization is so critical, to remind people that they're stronger together. We're going to make it through together. We're in this together. We're a powerful organization full of compassionate, ingenious people. We're going to figure a way through this, and it's going to be okay in the long run. So that's the first one, balance, empathy, and realism. A second piece that I've also heard from a lot of leaders is regular communication. This sounds almost trite, but it is absolutely essential. Whether you schedule a morning briefing every morning, every other day, it should be regular, it should be predictable, it should be scheduled. People need that information on a regular basis. If you don't provide them with information, they are, in their minds, going to make up the worst case scenario instead. And that's what they'll be thinking about. The communication needs to be regular, meaning that they're not going to get freaked out when you send a message that has some urgency to it. If you have regular meetings, then all the information can flow through that regular meeting spot. And the information needs to be two-way, that there's some way that you can gauge from people where they're at, what their situation is, how they're thinking about things. Finally, the communication needs to be personal. And what we mean by that is if you can do it by video, so they can see your face, so they can see your emotion, that's very, very helpful. The higher the touch, right, given 6 feet, the better chance you have of actually being able to reassure and comfort people. The third one is short. It's a very short one, very specific, and it is create a short time horizon for people to focus on. We don't have a long, predictable time horizon for what's going to happen here. And so realistically, if you can focus people on the next week, or at most the next 2 weeks, and here's what we're doing for this next period, it makes salient the organization's short-term priorities, and it enables people to think beyond the immediate distractions that they're going to be grappling with. Offer clarity and direction, number 4, but also encourage ingenuity. So I think of this time as, there will be silver linings one day once we're past the emergency part of this, without downplaying how difficult things are for people. But I think one of the silver linings that we'll see in retrospect is, as a leader, you're going to be able to gauge whether you've been a micromanager or not. Because really, for folks who are used to giving their people some room to solve problems and think through issues, this is a perfect opportunity to see how well that approach has worked. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't offer direction. You absolutely need to be directive and clear in this time, particularly about the non-negotiables, what it means to stay safe, what it means to shelter in place, what it means to develop a secure situation in one's new workplace so that data is not at risk within your organization, and so forth. There's going to be clear direction, and you're going to have to give that. But there are going to be all kinds of unknowns that you don't have solutions to. And it might be worth encouraging people to be ingenious and to develop ideas for this. As I've been looking around at what different organizations are doing, within about 2 days of the shelter-in-place order and the 6-foot social distancing order, I saw a supermarket that had put plastic round dots that were 6 feet apart in the line so that people knew exactly how far away they were from one another. I thought that was ingenious. It was quick. No one would have anticipated it. It was brilliant. The police in Mallorca are driving through the town while people are sheltering in place and stopping and serenading them. Beautiful. It's fantastic. It's a sign of humanity. It's something that addresses the current situation. And even small innovations, like the organizations like Best Buy, who are having customers order online and then go and pick up curbside so that they don't have to go into the store and people aren't exposing themselves to possible problems. So offering clarity and direction, but encouraging ingenuity is going to be incredibly important. And I really encourage you to think about how to do that. This one is inevitable. Temper your productivity expectations. It's just inevitable. You know that already. You do that going into this. People are legitimately distracted. Their immediate work situation is not optimal. Their children are home. Their dogs are barking. They may not have a quiet place in their home to work. They may not have good internet. All of those And they're grappling with brand new priorities that were not a part of their job before. Not to mention the fact that they're worried about their health, their family's health, and probably their job security as well. So there's good reason to be distracted. And this is where that empathy comes in. You have to be realistic about what people can do in a day, whether it's fewer hours or less productivity on tasks. You need to think about some way of taking the pressure off from people so that they can manage in this crisis situation. Our sixth one is sharing best practices for coping with these new conditions. So I've seen a lot of organizations do this very quickly, either through Slack or other ways of compiling information. I want to add a slight twist to that, which is in addition to asking people for the ingenious ideas they're coming up with for coping with the current situation, you want to curate that a little bit, because no one wants to read through from number 1 to number 5063. You need to actually organize those suggestions in some way so that people can search through based on the challenges that they're having, and possibly even contribute based on the insights that they're having. So perhaps create some categories that people can contribute to, so that you can share good information quickly and spread it through the organization. And maybe this is a way of speeding up our best practices and benchmarking for the longer haul. Finally, the seventh tip that I have is create social connection. I've been hosting a number of Zoom parties. They're super fun. You don't have to clean your house. You don't have to make a lot of food. You may want to have some theme associated with it. You may want to invite sections of people at a time so that you can have a more intimate conversation. Zoom has the capacity to have breakout rooms so that you could group people together to have smaller conversations about what they're going through. These social interactions can be celebratory. They can be a time where people share their triumphs and their fears. There can be times when they could even bring their family and have their family meet the rest of the organization. You can get creative with this, but something very regular where people are enabled to have an excuse to have more normal social interaction that's higher touch than email or Slack or just writing a message to someone. That there's an actual event planned that's regular and that there's an excuse for them to go. So these are the 7 things that I've been thinking about. As an academic, we think in numbers like that. They blend together. I hope there's some kernel in there that is useful for you. I would be very interested in hearing the experience that you're having. Please feel free to email me, chatman@berkeley.edu. I'm kind of keeping track of what's going on because I think these might be really interesting insights to look back at later. What's working for you? What are the real challenges that you're facing? How are things going? That said, the most important thing is for you to stay safe. And I'm so honored to be part of a university that is creating the scientific breakthroughs that we're going to need to have a long-term solution to address COVID-19 and perhaps future challenges like this. Please stay safe. Please stay close to your family, whatever that means in terms of your situation. Please take comfort in knowing that we're all here in this together and we're with you. Best of luck. Take care. Thanks so much.